I am going to be recording this story from a book called Solomon and the Ant by Sheldon Oberman. And this story is called The Prince Who Thought He Was a Rooster. There was a country full of people who loved to show off. They would strut about in their finest clothes, brag as much as they could. Their prince was brilliant, brave, and handsome, and he got to show off and strut about and brag more than anyone. However, the prince had a secret that bothered him more and more. Finally, he became depressed. He sat staring silently at the floor day after day. Finally, during a great banquet, he jumped to his feet and he shouted, "I cannot stand pretending anymore! I am not a brilliant, brave, handsome prince. I'll tell you what I really am." He threw his food on the table. He tore off his clothing off his body and he announced, "I am a rooster." The prince gave a cockle and a doodle-doo and sounded like a rooster. He walked like a rooster. He even scratched the ground for bugs and seeds like a rooster. Everyone shouted, "The prince is crazy!" The king cried, "My son's a royal lunatic," and he offered a fortune to anyone who could make him better. The most important doctors came from everywhere and did everything they could, and nothing helped. Then Joseph came to call. Joseph was not important to anyone. He was a Jewish peddler who brought broken watches, cracked pots and pans, and worn-out clothes to repair or sell for scrap. But when he saw the prince acting like a rooster, he told the king, "I can make him better." The king was so desperate he agreed. "You had better not fail or else," said the king. "Leave us alone for a week," said Joseph. The first thing Joseph did was take off his clothes. He gave a cockle and a doodle-doo, and he sounded like a rooster. He walked like a rooster. He even scratched the ground for bugs and seeds like a rooster. The prince watched him carefully but kept a distance. After 3 days, the prince became friendly with Joseph in a roosterly sort of way, and they shared bugs and seeds. The next day at sunrise, the prince began his crowing. Joseph says, "You have a terrific cockle, but you need to practice your doodle-doo." The prince was so surprised he blurted out, "Roosters can't talk!" "I happen to be a rooster who can talk. So can you, and why not?" The prince thought it over. After a while, he began to talk, though only about roosterly things. The next day at sunrise, Joseph gave a terrific cock-a-doodle-doo. "Hey," said the prince, "you walked like a person. Roosters can't do that." Joseph smiled and said, "I happen to be a rooster who can walk like a person. I think you can too. And why not?" Soon the prince was walking in a graceful human way, just like Joseph. The next day Joseph put on clothes. He said he happened to be a rooster who wore clothes, and the prince decided to wear clothes as well, and why not? By the end of the week, they were both ordering human food from the royal menu. "My son is a prince again," cried the king, and everyone cheered and bowed to the prince. "Why do they think I'm a prince?" the prince asked Joseph. "Don't they know I'm a rooster?" Joseph answered, "People see you walking and talking like a prince, dressing and eating like a prince. Let them think you're a prince. The important thing is you know who you are." The king overheard what Joseph said, and he was furious. He yelled, "My son still thinks he's a rooster? You said you'd make him better." "He is far better than he ever was before," said Joseph. "At first he was a show-off. Then he was silent and unhappy. Then he became a lunatic. But look at him now." The king saw his son was happy and relaxed, and that he treated everyone kindly. "Who is better?" asked Joseph. "Someone who thinks he is a prince but shows off like a rooster, or someone who thinks he's just a rooster but acts like a true prince?" "You're right," said the king. The prince got a great embrace, Joseph got a great reward and the king's gratitude, and the country got a great prince.